Thank you, Peter. Right, okay. We've got a great session coming up now. We've got a WomenTechConnect panel that's been organised, and we've got 4 panelists up on the stage. Esther Cobbinah is going to be moderating it for us, and the theme for this is new opportunities, learning to say yes. So if I could ask our panelists to come to the stage, we'll get our discussion started. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our WomenTechConnect panel. Today, as Jeremy said, we're going to be talking about different opportunities and saying yes to more things than we used to say yes to. So I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves. We'll start from the end.
So, hello everyone, I'm Olena Lutsenko. Currently, I'm working for RETN as Managing Director of the Black Sea region. I'm responsible for the business development and operation thing in 7 countries, including Ukraine. So, I started to work for RETN more than 12 years ago after the graduation of technical university in Ukraine. And currently, I remember the time that before the work in RETN, I combined the education with the work, and it was more difficult to have time for everything and don't lose a lot of students' party.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabelle Singh. I am a teacher at Riddlesdown, Collegiate in Purley. I'm head of department. My input in this is the lack of women. My concern is the lack of women that are actually taking up computer science from GCSE to A levels, even to go into the industry, and would like to find a way of improving that.
I'm Ann Bates. I work for LINX, head of exchange platforms, and I manage the engineering and the NOC teams. Well, Sean, who is NOC manager now. And I think everyone knows me from me looking very scared on stage.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Opiyo. I'm a network delivery manager at Meta. I have a background in network engineering, and I guess I'm here to talk about saying yes, as I did say yes to this opportunity to recently relocate my whole family to London for this role.
And I'm Esther Cobbinah, a network engineer at LINX, and we actually had this discussion in Rwanda at our AFPIF meeting there, and one of the closing statements from one of the ladies was now that we should start to take the opportunity to say yes to more things and just go for it. So here we're going to continue the conversation. Our first question is, do we think that now there are more opportunities that are open to ladies or females in this industry, or are we now just taking the opportunities and they've always been there? So we'll pass the question out to whoever wants to answer first.
I can start. From my perspective, opportunities are there for young ladies to take up the subject from secondary school. The problem is, after a certain point, they have some sort of inhibitions to take it up. For example, you'd find the kids in year 7 and 8 very interested in technology, very interested in computer science, and these are 11, 12-year-old girls. By the time they reach 13, 14, that seems to dwindle down. It's like, no, this is for boys, this is not for girls. Similar with maths and physics, this is for boys, this is not for girls. And it's very difficult to get over that culture that seems to be this subject is for girls and this subject is for boys. No matter what sort of promotion that we try in school, it's a very difficult aspect to get. We are having more and more girls take it up, but it's gone from 0 to maybe 2 or 3 in a class of 30. And this is at A level, which is 16 to 18-year-old students. So I think it's a culture that we'd like to try to change to improve that, girls, you can do this, and the opportunities are there. A couple of them went to LINX last year, and they came back, oh, you know, I really enjoyed it, doing a work experience there. I really enjoyed looking to what the industry is offering. They've gone and further taking it up to uni, and they're both doing computer science at university. But I think going to LINX also helped them choose what to specialize in, because they had the opportunity to see different aspects of it in an industry. They would help them actually further specialize in what they wanted to do.
Well, one of them ended up doing an internship in software with Ricardo as well, and she had a really good experience with that. We've just for hiring, Mo, Sean and myself, we've actually found difficulty trying to encourage more women to come into the industry. And I see James nodding his head. We talked about that at a LINX meeting a couple years ago. And that was one of the reasons that I reached out to Isabelle to try to encourage more young women to come in. I mean, through it, of course, we found some great young men as well. Alex, one of the new starters, was one of her students. But we are we've taken girls first. So basically she sends our girls first, and then she'll send the boys as well. Jeremy did a podcast with the girls earlier in the year. So it's been a good experience. We're trying, but it's still a slow process. I know for myself, the opportunities are always there, because I started in the industry in Ann Arbor at ANS, former UNet, back in the late 90s. But even then, there still weren't a lot of women in the field.
Yeah, I do agree. I think a lot of work has gone into increasing the diversity and inclusivity in tech companies over the years. And we have to applaud that, because yes, there are more opportunities. Women have more choices now and more options available to join these organizations and contribute and participate. But there still remains work to be done, so we can't rest yet and say, okay, we've done enough now. If they don't want to join, that's theirs. We still need to continue doing these programs from the school level to make sure a lot more women get in, and then in the organizations, we make sure we keep them there so that they don't end up dropping off at some point mid-career.
Yeah.
And just remember the one first, my offline meetings when I started to work for the RETN, I graduated information security, and also we have just a few girls for the 60 months. And by the way, it was funny when I visited one very senior telecommunication guy in Odessa. It's my first sales meeting offline, and of course I came early for 15 minutes, waiting for him, sitting, stress, and this is visitor room, and he just came and said, oh, sorry, I don't have time for the students right now. Please come later. I said, oops, really? He said, yes, I have a very important meeting right now, which I booked for 2 weeks before. I'm really open for the speak with students, but not now. Please come or write my assistant, don't worry. I said, I'm okay, but I'm Olena, and we booked this meeting 2 weeks ago. I just came to other city. And he said, you are Olena? You look so young. For the present me connectivity. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, you can do it, of course. And in the end, I can say that this, currently we are working together for the 11 years, very successful. Of course, we are laughing, drink some coffee. And after this, he said that, you know, after your experience, our experience with you, I'm still be more attentive for the support young students, girls also, not only boys, because we have in Odessa one of the big university for the telecommunication, and this company supported a lot for the young people to get the practice in the real field, not only the education stuff. That's why I can say that now it's more common opportunity in Ukraine, in the world. So, yeah.
Definitely. I think, as everyone said, there are definitely opportunities that have been there, but people are now maybe more willing to take them up or more able to take them up. But the retention of women once we get them in the industry is obviously still a struggle, because it doesn't suit everybody.
I think with that, it depends upon what part. I mean, if it's software development, I think that's probably fine. But when it comes to networking, you have support, you have on-call, and that makes it a lot harder if you have children. But that could be the father as well, if they're the caregiver.
Definitely. And, okay, we'll move on to our next question. When we do say yes to these career-enhancing opportunities, as females, do you find that you have any like guilt that you're leaving your children, guilt that you're progressing, guilt to anything else? Are there things in the background niggling you that you should be taking these opportunities, or do you just feel, yeah, this is my chance, I'm going to take it?
Well, I'm happy to start that off. For me, it's changed over the years. I mean, when I first left the US, I was going to work abroad for a year or two in Amsterdam, helping with the EuroNOC for UNET. And for that, I felt bad leaving my family. And as everyone's getting older and illnesses and things, I do struggle with that. But from being a mother as well, I felt guilt for leaving the kids. So that's basically kept me from doing things like going to NANOG. I went to my first one this year, which was great, since they're both in university now. So it's always a bit of a struggle, and you just have to balance it at the time.
I think for me, what I would say is prior to coming here, because I was back home, you have your whole family, you have your support system and everything. So I didn't feel guilt, like if I had to travel, leave my kids, I know they're perfectly fine. Their life continues just as if I hadn't left, because everyone around them knows what they need and they support them. But coming over here, you're coming here fresh, you don't know anyone. You have to now figure out how to create those support systems. So it's a lot harder for me now to make a decision to go on a long trip if I know I'll have to figure out what to do with the kids or put them in a funny situation when they're not ready, because they're also new here. So I think it just depends, but I think an important thing to do as a woman in tech or anyone else in tech is create those support systems around you that can enable you to take up opportunities. Right? Have your friends, have your family, make those relationships and really lean on them. And even for the male colleagues, the allies we have, supporting you and ensuring that you do get a chance to take those opportunities up, even if you can't, right? They'll still offer me, hey, Michelle, do you want to go to this conference? And give me the opportunity to say, oh, no, I don't think I can make it this time, or not. So we do have to support our women. Let's not assume they can't do these things, but give them that chance regardless of the situation and allow them to make the choice whether to go or not, or how to handle the opportunity.
When I just started to work, it was business traveling, and I remember that this was a guilt for the fast food in my family during the business trip. In the end, we decided that there's a good official possibility to have this fast food days. Anyway, I just understood how it was important to say career yes, because you know that now it's very challengeable time for all Ukrainian people, and now I have the more power to involve for the different process. Not only is Ukrainian upgrading telecommunication legislation, it's also the possibility to support very important project. And yesterday, sure, everyone met this project from Renee, Keep Ukraine Connected. It was also the manager in the private time, not in the working time. But the same way, I've never shared the details that we have currently a project, charity project of names Our Children. And it was established by CEO of Data Group. It's a big Ukrainian Data Group, and Volia currently is one of the biggest Ukrainian telecommunication company. And RETN joined this project in July. It's just financial, psychological, and legal support to children who had been orphaned due to this enforced Russian against Ukraine, and it's just currently help to get more power for this very kind project. Currently, RETN supported 35 children per month. It's just this possibility for them to say yes what they need. It's $250 for each one, and it's supported with a charity foundation and controlled by the our division of Police Department of Ukraine. And currently, yes, it's good. No guilt for the anymore, because it's just a good example how to say correctly time.
I think I'm a little bit like Anne in this aspect. I moved to the current school I moved to about 10 years ago, and to move to that school, I actually had to give up a more promoted job to it, because I was working very long hours, finishing work about 1 o'clock in the morning, working through the myth that teachers have all these holidays is a myth, working through all of the holidays, had to bring my kids into school with me when I was working because the level of where I teach, because it's the older kids, it's a lot more work required into it. For teaching computer science at GCSE and A levels, it's a lot more work than teaching to Key Stage 3. And I ended up having to move to a job closer to my home because the traveling and the going back and forth, it was just too much, and the kids were young and you had to just make sacrifices. One of the sacrifices I had to make was to give up my job and to move to another job that was closer. So.
And do you feel that now your children are older, you've got more opportunities again to do different
Yes, I do. I think where the kids are older now, and youngest one is 15 going on 16, where they're older and a lot more independent, I am very happy now to say, right, I'm going to pick up myself, I can go somewhere. You don't have that guilt that when you have when they're younger, because there's nothing you can do. You feel guilty, you know. It's just one of those things.
Yep. Thank you. And we'll move on to our next question. Now, with the ability to say yes that we now all seem to have found, do we find that saying no to certain opportunities is then detrimental to our careers, or do we feel just as empowered to say no to things that we don't feel are going to be beneficial to us?
For me, that's a difficult one because the opportunities I've been giving, it's really since I've been working at LINX, have been things that would have been Mike and then Richard, they felt that I could do, that I could handle. And so I would have liked to have said no to coming up on stage and doing the presentations, but actually it's good for me developmentally to actually go through and do that, isn't it? So for me, I haven't actually had that thing to come across.
Yeah.
With me, I think where I have developed my career and I have a reputation of being quite good in my career, I have a lot more empowered now to say, no, I don't want to do this, or yes, I want to do this. And they do give me the flexibility to do this because they're well aware that I would work and make up for anything that I would have not been able to do at that time or anything like that. So I think it's with experience.
Yeah.
When you're in the job and you have the experience, just like anyone, you're a lot more empowered with that experience.
Yeah, I agree. It's also very complex and difficult to say sometimes no. If you, for example, have the call from your colleagues about some support or some else, but in this time you changes your role and you need to redirect this request to the other order. Yeah. And it's just this combination of the challenging, you can answer it, but if you're not currently create the correct order for this question somehow, you will just spend all time for this routine task and lose your possibility to grow on your new role. And that's why it's just always trouble.
Yeah, I think Olena, mentioned something very important, and it's about doing invisible work, probably, which a lot of women get caught up in. You're doing things which, yeah, they're necessary, but they're not really being seen and appreciated as things that are really instrumental to the outcomes that people are working on. So I think for me, a good way to kind of think about an opportunity, first of all, don't say no just because it's daunting and it seems big and maybe difficult for you. In those situations, maybe just say yes, then make a plan. But other questions you could ask yourself when you're trying to evaluate an opportunity is whether it's in line with your own personal goals or your career goals. How does that sit with your maybe organization's strategy? If it's something very big that will have a lot of impact in the outcomes of your org, that's something you might want to consider just taking up, even if you're not sure about it. And another thing is then, is it going to take away from other important responsibilities that you have, and will it negatively impact that? If so, maybe you want to consider maybe not taking it on full on, or just saying, hey, this is how much I can do to help in this cause, and things like that. So I think those are some good questions you can ask yourself as you're deciding whether to say yes or no.
Yeah,
very
good points. And within the industry, obviously we've seen, well, obviously Isabelle's not seen as many women coming through as we'd like, but we're seeing more women coming in. How do we feel that we can help them, like if we had a final statement to say, this is why you should keep going, ladies, or this is why you should join us, what would you advise your younger self, your self at the moment? What would you give to other ladies to help them to come into this kind of industry?
For me, to encourage women to come into this industry, it's giving them the opportunities at my level to see what the industry is like. And I think giving them those opportunities to see what the industry is like is going to make them a lot more passionate about wanting to go into the industry, because as far as they're concerned, they think it's daunting and they're not up to the challenge. But when they get opened up to the industry, they realize, wait a minute, I can do this. This is not as hard as I thought it was. But it's just getting over that hurdle to think, no, I can't do this. And where they get the opportunities, and LINX has been very, very good to that, and I wish other companies would actually get the opportunity to go out and see it. I think that has helped a lot with my students going over to that hurdle.
I guess what I would add to that is really, it may seem like a lot of work, but especially with us, we wouldn't have chosen you for the job if we didn't think you could do it. Yeah. And it will take time, and you just keep working at it and you'll get there.
For me, I would say women can't be what they can't see. So it's important for us, or for women, to take that spotlight, say yes to the opportunities, come and be on these panels, allow other women to see that, yes, there's something I can aspire to, that people have taken up those positions. And that way we can encourage other women to be brave and take up these positions, to build a world which is built by men and women for men and women, right? And we are also responsible for correcting that imbalance that we see. So saying yes to opportunities is seriously important for this.
Definitely.
I couldn't be out of context of my living. I'm living in Kiev right now. But also it's a very good time to make this conclusion. And I do the math day each day. I can do it the same advice for everyone. And for this I have just 3 point in to-do list and checklist in the same day evening. It's the first one, 3 things to love during the day. 3 things to do for yourself, for the body and mind. And don't forget to say, if you want something, to say my apologies or my pleasure in the same day, not tomorrow. And yeah, remember, you're braver than you ever thought before.
Very good. And one last quick question for Isabelle. Have you noticed from the students that you've sent to us, when they've come back to you and they've had a good experience, has having women that they've physically seen in the industry, like Anne in a managerial position, has that made a difference to their...
It has, because it makes them feel, well, if Anne can do it, why can't I do it? Because there's another woman there that's doing it. And I've not sent any students that has not had an absolutely great experience at LINX.
Fantastic.
And you're also open to more. If people wanna
Please
talk to
do,
you.
yes. If I can get a lot more companies that are willing to take the students to do work experience, and they're very flexible on their work experience. They have all the holidays, they have the whole summer. These kids will they just want the experience of the industry. Just that experience to see what it is like. If anybody is interested, if they can contact LINX, or they can come and see me at break time, I can give them my details. It would be really appreciated.
Lovely. And do we have any questions for any of the ladies from anybody?
Hi, James Rice, Jump Networks. Question for Isabelle. You were mentioning how the rate of students interested in science, technology, engineering, mathematics at younger ages is much higher than when they get to 15 or 16. Have you seen what correlates? I mean, does that correlate with anything? Is there anything that's enabling them to continue?
Sorry, I didn't get half of that.
So the female students at age 11, 12, there's a good participation in science and technology. At 15 and 16, it's already dropping off massively.
Yes.
What does that correlate with? Which students who stay?
It's not particular students. I think it's with growing up, puberty, boys do this, girls do that. boyfriend, girlfriends, many things, boyfriend, girlfriend, does many things. It's just, it tends to wean out.
Okay.
You do have this lot that is very passionate and continues with it. And we do try to encourage, no, if you can do this and this year, our GCSE classes, which is the year 10s, has been the biggest number of girls we've had in the GCSE. I think we have 10 girls out of 30 children doing GCSE, 10 are girls and 20 are boys, and that is the highest we've had for girls doing GCSE. And they're so bright. They're just as bright as the boys. Some of them a lot brighter. And we're just encouraging them any which way. One of the ways we encourage them is grouping them together so they don't feel like, oh, they're alienated with the boys there, and that seems to work. So it's just the encouragement we try to give them to continue to take it up and take it as far as they can.
Is there any clue as to who has to do what to help enable them to keep participating?
I think it's having talks, having visits, seeing what the industry is like, seeing that actually no, nothing is stopping you from doing it. We do have people coming, so for example, we have the Faraday Challenge come in with the year 8s, and they do different challenges with the students to do with either with the microbits or some sort of engineering challenge, and the kids love that. But it's getting the talks in there and getting people from an industry to come in, that's very difficult as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The parents are the biggest barrier to keeping people in technology in its entirety. So at BT we did a lot of work on this, and we saw the same effect. Lots of interest, but when parents think, okay, you gotta do well at whatever you want to do and try and make money, etc. Now you don't want to go into that technology thing. That's kind of, they think of it as some sort of lower life form. And they push folks towards legal, doctors, other stuff like that. And
that is changing a little bit now. I have the parents coming in and telling the kids, no, you need to do technology, that's the future. You have to make sure GCSE, they push it. It's just coming onto A levels. They then say, like what you're saying, no, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the work that we've done, we're still seeing it. And we've helped government with the curriculum, from primary school forward, because actually if you don't initiate at primary school, not just for ladies but generically, that's where you start to kind of see the gaps appear. But then the flip side, which actually I would have liked to hear more about, sponsorship. So actually in BT I'm very proud to say I'm the only group in technology that's hit the targets that were set for diversity and inclusion, but I had to take lots of risks. And I think if you're a manager or a director or a senior person in a company, what risks are you taking to help? So if you try and hire a senior lady or a senior person from an ethnic minority, the reality is they're not there. So you've then got to hire someone that hasn't got that experience to give them that experience.
Yeah.
And you've got to become a sponsor of that and put the right controls and help and process in to make them successful. And I don't know if any you would comment on that, but for me that has enabled some really amazing people in my team to really go far, actually further than they might have even expected. But without that sponsorship, without that risk-taking, it doesn't go anywhere, basically.
I agree, but this is what I was saying. It's like getting that work experience, that internship, to giving the students an opportunity for them to get something, and for people to take them aboard. Because, I mean, and we'll verify that the kids I send them, they're very bright children. Okay. They've taken a couple of them on, and I don't think they've regretted taking a few of the kids on. They're quick to learn. And I agree about the primary school, because I do have my A-level students as well going to local primary schools, running coding clubs to show the kids, this can be fun, this can be interesting. So we do that as well. We do break it down to the lower schools and to the primary schools and encourage, because when you have students teaching other students, they take it on board a lot more than if an adult is teaching. So I would have my sixth form students as part of the course that they're doing, they all go to local primary schools and they all offer a club to the local primary schools for at least 2 half terms and part and parcel of that course, which I think is really good work, learning experience for them and a learning experience for the primary school kids as well.
Do we have any more questions? Bijou?
Hello, hi. Not really a question. I just wanted to say thanks for the panel. It's always really interesting to hear the different perspectives from different women, you know, and what they've been through and how they kind of come over their challenges. I especially wanted to say thank you to Isabelle, because I think, you know, starting off young is one of the key things I think that we need to do. And I think I think the industry as a whole could also be a lot more involved in this and, you know, support work similar to what you're doing and the work experience. So thank you, and keep up the good work. And also I'd like to speak to you afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Delphine from Orleans. So we've got a tricky question for you. Saying yes to opportunities is saying yes to money. And we didn't touch on this panel, but what is your vision about the gap difference of salaries between men and women, and how did you think it improved in the past years?
I was out.
Okay.
Because again, with my Ukrainian context and Romanian, Bulgarian context, and my company, I can say that it's no difference between women and men salaries. We just discussed maybe 2 months ago in July with one CEO in Ukraine. He said that it's not difference in salary, it's difference on the time what spent women typically for the getting the senior level if you compare with the men experience. It's what Isabelle mentioned. It's started from the childhood times, and but now, yes.
I think a lot of times as well, women take time off to have a family, which is why it takes us a lot longer time to progress up as quickly as men do. But you know, in my industry, there is no pay difference between men and women. I'm happy to say both women and men are paid the same because we're paid on a scale, and that's obviously a government scale. So it does not. I am currently moving from one school to another, and the new school I'm going to, which is Coomwood, the head teacher there is a woman, and she went from my current school that I'm in as the vice principal or deputy principal to now a head teacher in that school. So the promotions for male and female in my industry, there's not that much, and age-wise as well, there's not that much. I think it's because of flexibility of being able to be off where your children are off at school makes that a possibility. So, and I think where the industry is going now, and that is the IT industry, where you have the flexibility to work at home, I think that is going to help as well for a lot of women to move up faster than they would have currently been able to move up in the past.
Yeah. I mean, for me as a hiring manager, we pay on a scale. It's on experience. It's applicant by applicant, but everyone's paid the same. For me as a person, I'm one of the people that took a few years off when I had my son and daughter, and so that put me back when I got back in the industry. But I've done all right since then, so I can't complain.
I do think there's work going to closing the gap, and I think, as Olena mentioned, there's that speed of rising through the ranks that will impact how much you earn over your lifetime. But a lot of women are out earning men in some scenarios, so it's not all doom and gloom. There still is some work to be done, but I think we're trending probably in the right direction. I don't think the gap is expanding. It's probably getting closer.
Any more questions? No? Yep.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Yep, so, well, first of all, a question for the audience, really. Now, Neil's basically touched on this to a degree already, so what experiences do members have in their organisations, and what tips can they share with the other members about how that can work in their organisations? That's the first part. But what I would like to say to the ladies here, great discussion, by the way, is what would you want people here to take away that they can action to actually make a positive change going forward?
I can start for what I would like moving forward is to have the industry a lot more involved with the secondary schools by giving the students opportunities to visit the industries, to see what it's like, to encourage them to go to the industries. And that is what I would like to get, and to get that taken from here.
Yes, I agree with Isabelle. That is, we have some, closed community. It's not as so open for the other people, but I can say that this is very important to ask students to visit and have the practice, looks like summer practice, in the real field. It's a win-win, because you have the one young who would like to do some routine work, at the same time you can show what the real business looks. And I can say, due to my own experience in RETN, I already successfully hired 3 students. One of them currently technical director in Amsterdam office in RETN right now, from Ukraine to move somewhere else. So it's very workable, and you will.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Just do more of the same. Come talk to Isabelle. She's got too many students for us to take on. And when we take them on for the week, then it means I have to go into the office every single day. So I think
for me, I would encourage everyone to just spend time checking your biases. Think about your unconscious bias and see how you can address that in your day-to-day. Saying this because this person's a woman, or it's because it's Michelle, or because she's inexperienced, or whatever it is. Spend time checking your biases, and I think you'll be able to then make better decisions and be a good ally and sponsor for the women around you.
Yep, and I would say the same as the other ladies, basically give the opportunities to everyone at a younger age. So anyone who's got a company that can get some students in, or that can go to a school to do a talk, just to make it more amenable to everybody, and then people can see and make the decision for themselves. There are a lot of women that don't want to come to the industry, which is fine, but there are a lot of women that would like to but don't know it's available. So just make it more open for everybody, so then people can make a more informed decision if it's something they'd like to go into.
Thank you.
No, there's someone else.
Oh, got another question, sorry.
Thank you, by the way, for everything on this, because actually I have 2 young daughters and I'm very encouraging of them. Try to stop them playing with my laptop, but I do encourage them a lot to get on with it. And sometimes I'm actually astonished at my 4-year-old and how advanced she is with regards to just putting a laptop in front of her and what she can do. One of the things from my perspective is the recent trend with like social media and also like streaming situations. I've noticed there's a massive uplift in, for example, women gamers, things like that. But one thing I have noticed on things like forums like YouTube, then when you're doing research against how to solve a problem, there's not many women doing that. Mm-hmm. And I think the exposure to the younger generation of seeing and learning from women in technology is not vast. And I just want to know if you're considering anything around that, and what you would, and how that could be encouraged more.
I do quite agree with you. When the students, especially, they're trying to solve programming problems and they do go online on Stack Overflow, on YouTube or anything like that, I don't think there's any women that do videos on that, and that is a shame. But I mean, I can encourage my students to put up videos there, but again, I think that's an industry thing that the industry needs, especially the women in the industry, to create videos to solve problems, so the students can look at it and again be encouraged the fact, oh, there's a woman that's doing this as well, not just a guy. because on our perspective, it's not so much on our side, it's what is, for that to take impact on our level, it's the industry that has to make that change for the students to see that the industry is doing that. The students need to see that the industry have women solving problems as well on YouTube. So I think that has to go back out to the industry to say, you guys need to make some videos for the women. For the women need to make some videos to show them that is there as well.
I think another side of that is also these platforms have the tools and algorithms that run them in the background that probably will give you a response. Because I don't know if you've typed woman solving problem about, you typed a problem statement, right? And you got a certain result based on your location and all these things, whatever demographics they're looking at to serve you that result. So probably that's why we're saying women have to come into tech so they can say, hey, you know, every time we're searching for these things, I never get to this bit which has the women, and work in these industries and be part of the solution for that. I think it's multifaceted in a way. Yes, we need more women creating the content, and also we need more women creating those products so they can be able to point out these things that, hey, wouldn't it be great if we also, for every video, even if there are not as many females saying the same thing, even if they have lower views, can we also put that as a, you know, as a response in this feed to give it a bit of balance? So there's a lot of work in very many different areas that will come together to solve that kind of problem, is my thinking.
Yep. Does anyone else want to answer?
Not unless you want to start making some videos, right?
Yes, maybe that will be our next challenge.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Hey, Jana. Really great discussion, by the way. Thank you so much for today, and it's great to see wonderful women up on stage, which you don't get to see a lot at these conferences. I was wondering whether you think there's a space for regulation, and I don't want to say government intervention, but how much does that aspect play in lifting women and other minorities and folks up to positions, I guess, in power, of influence and visibility?
I think the government is trying to promote it. There are so many different promotion that goes on. I know Amazon runs a program for girls mainly. They do allow it to be boys as well, but mainly for girls, that they do an Amazon project for year 8 students, and we are involved in that. There are programs, a lot more programs than when I first started teaching, and I think that is getting more and more popular. But I mean, everything helps. Everything helps.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of, for instance, in Rwanda, for example, they have really good representation of women in government positions, in the ICT sector, in those higher level positions. So there is a space for the top down, like this is something important. We want diversity, we want inclusivity, and, you know, driving it from the top as well. So there's space for that, but always, you know, with regulations, always like a tricky thing. But the interventions have worked in other areas and other countries. So it also depends, obviously, on the political climate and all of that, but it can be useful.
Does anyone else want to?
I just comment that I remember from the Ukrainian government support in our telco reports quarterly, we have the special field about the numbers of people that you have, and they asking women. That's why it's just as they also trying to be more European way and getting some statistic information. And just as before the war, we had discussions that currently they're very happy because it's increased number till 40% totally for the telecom market in Ukraine. And 10 years ago, it was around 18. Okay. That's why it's just maybe not support, but anyway, they're trying to get statistics.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think we've got another question.
Oh.
Thank you for a very interesting discussion. I want to go back to really the cultural point that was suggested to lay at some of the root of this, that that young girls, when they move essentially past into puberty, are guided away or move away from technical fields more towards professions like medicine and law. The thing about that is that medicine and law are quite high status, high paying sort of fields, and it's a real challenge to portray the tech industry as a preferential choice for high-performing, high-achieving people who can actually who end up taking leadership positions. So how do we as an industry compete against those professions for the attention and desire to join the industry among those who are going to take up future leadership roles?
I could start. I think going back to the point I made earlier is that women can't be what they can't see. Let's say in fields like medicine, law, you see lots of women. Like in my country now, majority of the students taking medicine are women. So as a guy, you'd be the minority in those classes at some point. So the more women we get up the funnel to the top of these positions, who are visible to everyone else, the more attractive it becomes. We still see a lot of males dominating these positions. So it's hard to see, okay, fine, how do I get there? I want to get to the top of this. Yeah, but I don't see anyone there. So we need to get more women there, and the women need to make sure they're visible to people and that their work is being put in the spotlight, and then we can attract more women because they're seeing, yes, it's possible. I can do this if I apply myself. So that's what I would say about that.
I would not have thought that starting off as a lawyer and starting off as a doctor is a huge amount of difference in salary as starting off in tech per se, considering the age you start off in tech and how much more years you have to start off as a doctor. By the time they've started as a doctor, they would have already had a few more years in tech. So salary-wise, unless you're very high on the doctor and lawyer list, but likewise, if you're very high on the IT list, you're making billions. Ask the video gamers how much they're making to put out all the new video games. Modern Warfare, how much billions did they make in profit? So it's a little bit debatable on exactly which industry makes more money for young people or less money, because I think they're all pretty similar depending on where they reach to it. So.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with what Michelle said. If you can't see anybody in that industry that represents you, then it just doesn't occur to you to even look into it. So the more that you see, then the more women or young people that we're more likely to attract. So I think it's just keeping everyone as visible as possible and see what we can get. So, any more questions? No? I think that's it then. Thank you all very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, ladies. I hope we didn't make anyone feel too uncomfortable.
No, it was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. That was great.